If you're keeping your money in savings instead of investing it, you're leaving anywhere from 3 to 6 times your money on the table. And the longer you wait, the wider that gap is going to get. But today, I'm going to be walking through the actual path from saver to investor in 3 moves. So let's talk about it. I'm so happy to have you here with me today. Let's get started. Before you put a single dollar into the market, your foundation has to be solid. And that starts with understanding that saving and investing are not the same thing. Saving protects your money, while investing grows your money. Now, both belong in your plan, but they answer to different scoreboards. And if you only run one of them, you're going to feel like you're working hard and falling behind at the same time. Now, let me show you what that looks like with current numbers. According to the FDIC, the national average savings account rate as of May 2026 is 0.38% APY. Now, if you park that $10,000 into an account at this rate and let it sit for 20 years, you're going to finish with roughly $10,800. You barely moved. Now, let's say instead you move that same money into a high-yield option. High-yield accounts currently offer interest rates in the 3 to 4% range. So let's call it 3.5% for the math. So 20 years at 3.5%, that turns $10,000 into roughly $19,900. But here's the catch. The S&P 500 has averaged about 10% per year over extended periods of time. And that same $10,000 invested at 10% over 20 years compounds to roughly $67,300. So even when you're doing the disciplined thing, sitting in the best high-yield savings account that you can find, you're still leaving more than 3 times your money on the table compared to investing. Now, against the national average, that gap is closer to 6 times, and savings rates have a ceiling that investing simply does not. So, with that in mind, stabilizing means 2 specific things. First, you need an emergency fund, so 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses held in cash in a high-yield savings account. Now, your essential expenses are things like housing, utilities, and food, but not your full lifestyle. This money is not for investing, and it's not for opportunities. It exists to keep you from selling your investments at the worst possible time. Selling at the lows is often an emotional reaction, and it's compounded when your only liquidity is tied up in your investments. An emergency fund is meant to remove both of those pressures. Now, the second part of stabilizing is being honest about high interest debt. If you're carrying credit card balances at 22 or 24% or higher, paying that down is a guaranteed return that beats anything the market is going to give you. Now, the S&P's long-term average is around 10%, as I stated, so a 24% APR is more than double that, and it's working against you every single month. So I want you to knock that out before you start funding a brokerage account. The one exception is going to be your employer 401k match. If your company matches your contributions dollar for dollar up to a percentage of your salary, that's an immediate 100% return on what you contribute. So always capture the full match, even while you're paying down debt. Now, after the match, any debt above roughly 7 to 8% gets priority over additional investing. So stabilize is the floor. Once it's built, you've earned the right to move up. Activating starts with a mental shift. Stop seeing all of your money as one pool and start seeing it as 2 distinct buckets: safety money and growth money. Safety money lives in your high-yield savings. It doesn't move, and its value to you is that it's always there. Growth money lives in your investment accounts. And that money is allowed to move because its only job is to be worth more in 10, 20, 30 years than it is today. Now, when you separate them, you stop confusing a dip in your growth bucket with a hole in your safety bucket. Now, with the buckets separated, the next step is funding the right accounts for your particular situation. In move 1, we already discussed your employer 401k match. Now, that's the universal first dollar because nothing else is going to match at 100% return on day 1. But from there, the next dollar isn't a strict sequence. It depends on what you're optimizing for and what you have access to. So continuing your 401k past the match makes the most sense if you're prioritizing tax advantages today. The 2026 employee contribution limit is $24,500, or $32,500 if you're 50 or older. Pre-tax contributions lower your taxable income right now, and the balance compounds tax deferred until retirement. Now, if you expect to be in a lower tax bracket in retirement than you are today, then this is where the math works the hardest for you. A Roth IRA, however, might make more sense if you're prioritizing tax advantages later. The 2026 contribution limit is $7,500 or $8,600 if you're 50 or older. Roth contributions are after tax going in, but the growth and qualified withdrawals are tax-free for life. Income limits do apply, so you should check with the IRS to see what the thresholds are to confirm your eligibility. If your income is above the phase out, there's still the backdoor Roth process, but that's going to be a topic for another video. An HSA is a powerful third option, but only if you're enrolled in a high deductible health plan. It's the only account with a triple tax advantage, so contributions go in pre-tax, the balance grows tax-free, and qualified medical withdrawals come out tax-free. The 2026 limit is $4,400 for individual coverage and $8,750 for families. The catch, though, is that the tax-free withdrawal benefit is tied to medical expenses. So this would only make sense if you're realistically going to track healthcare costs over time. And if you are, make sure to invest the balance instead of just leaving it in cash. Now, most people will use some combination of these three, weighted toward whatever best fits their tax situation, health plan, and retirement horizon. But once you've funded whatever mix is right for you up to its limit, the taxable brokerage account is going to be your next stop. And that's where money goes after you've exhausted your tax advantage options, or money you want accessible before 59 and a half without a penalty. Now, what do you actually buy inside these accounts? I would recommend to keep it boring on purpose. The simplest strategy almost always outperforms a complicated one over a longer time horizon. Low cost, broadly diversified index funds held for decades. VTI is one example. Now, this gives you the total US stock market. VT is another that gives you the total world market. VOO gives you the S&P 500. If you want a single decision and never want to touch it again, you can look at target date retirement funds, which handles the allocation and rebalances automatically based on the year you plan to retire. So pick what fits your risk tolerance and time horizon the best, and move on. Now, personally, I make daily contributions to my taxable brokerage account, and I'm fully invested in VT. I'm dollar cost averaging through every kind of market. I don't time it. I don't pause when headlines get loud. The whole point is to remove myself from the decision. So once your accounts are open, your buckets are separated, and you've picked your investments, the engine is built. Now it has to run. Compounding is the part that does the heaviest lifting, but only if you let it. And the way you let it is to remove yourself from the decision and trusting time to do its job. Start with automation. Your 401k and HSA are already running on payroll deferral. For your Roth IRA and your taxable brokerage, set up recurring transfers scheduled for the day after your paycheck clears. And that timing matters. If the money moves before you can see it sitting in your account, you don't get a chance to talk yourself out of it. Automation is what separates the investor who builds wealth from the saver who intended to. Now, here's what consistency looks like in the math. If you invest, let's say, $500 a month into a diversified index fund, which averages 8% per year, after 25 years, you would have approximately $475,000. Now, out of that $475,000, you contributed about $150,000. The remaining $325,000 is compounding. Your returns, earning returns on themselves. And that ratio is the entire point. You bring the discipline, and time brings the multiplier. Now, one of the biggest reasons people stay in savings mode is the worry about market downturns and volatility. And I want to address that directly. Market downturns can and will happen. They're a normal feature of investing over a long period of time. But what separates the disciplined investor from someone who gives up the strategy is what they do during those downturns. Cutting losses means selling at the low and missing the recovery that follows. Continuing to invest means every dollar you put in is buying more shares at lower prices. And historically, those shares produce the strongest returns when the market bounces back. The math is on the side of staying in. Downturns are typically much shorter than the uptrending periods that follow them. And this is exactly why move one matters. If you find yourself wanting to pause your contributions every time the market gets ugly, that's not a signal that investing is wrong for you. It's a signal that your safety bucket isn't big enough yet. So fix the floor, then let the system keep running. Saving keeps you safe, but investing is what makes you free. Run both together long enough, and you stop reacting to your life and you start designing it. And that's going to do it for today's video. The path from saver to investor isn't about finding the perfect entry point. It's 3 moves. Stabilize the floor. Activate the accounts that fit your situation and let consistency compound through time. Now, if you found this video helpful, please do give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on the next one. And if you know someone who's been stuck in the saving stage and hasn't taken the next step, then why don't you send them this video? The longer they sit on the sidelines, the more compounding they leave behind. And why don't you drop a comment and let me know where you are right now. Are you stabilizing, activating, or already compounding? I want to thank you so much for watching, and as always, I encourage you to dream big, to live well, and to do great things. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.